There we go.
Okay, so I'll go up there and start.
Okay, folks. Let's boogie.
I just had to get attention.
Tommy.
I'm an attention addict. I love attention. You can't give me enough attention. Actually, that's not true. Not true. It's
Oh, no, Allegra.
He's always after more.
Allegra! You're up here.
Allegra's in the house. We saw her a few minutes ago. She's going to kick us off, and let me see what else we got here.
And then Tommy.
Yeah, we got Allegra, then Tommy, then, and then Melissa. Oh, Allegra. Give her a round, please, Allegra! Come on, why don't you hear the applause? Please take her round. Let's kick her off around here. This is the person who knows what words are about.
So I have a longer poem, and then if there's time, a shorter poem that kind of fits.
Step up to the mic. Yeah,
Sure.
there you go.
Okay. I wanted and needed to feel secure in your hands. Added to sleepless nights was my total insecurity, and I saw your ability to mold me, hold me, keep me safe from the sky falling all around me, but you never really saw me. You gave me your company, your heart and head in moments of quiet, and those rarely spent apart became stories for time spent together. Your presence was always welcome, but now I resent that you could never be present. You could never see me or truly choose to be with me. I was trapped behind a fishbowl lens of everything you still needed to work on, of the girl who had broken your heart. We still held out our hands and reached for the other's baggage, hoping we could lighten each other's load, but mine was not yours and vice versa to hold. You could never give me your heart, even broken. I didn't care if it was made of glass, if it would cut my hands open, I still tried to love you. And so I stayed. Actually, unfortunately, I pushed forward. I was determined to win this race, moving so fast I wore down my feet. My soles grew bloody, and I moved. I felt I had no choice. See, I am not one to sit still, and I felt myself stagnating. My gold stars were graying, and you came and you offered me an opportunity to win something. And you can't understand how much I wanted that, even if it was a human heart, yours. I wanted my trophy, my souvenir, my win. Is it a sin that I wanted so badly to win you over? The clock was winding down. I was folding my belongings to move away. I just wanted a souvenir from a city I knew I'd never stay. The end was an inevitability. But I wanted to prove to myself the time we spent together had meaning, that we existed beyond pure futility, and so I said I loved you. Now I realize maybe you were never to be loved. You needed still to get over her, or maybe you were to be loved, and we were just never to acknowledge it. Every day waking to each other's face until the words became as palatable as the meals we shared. Maybe then you'd say it with grace, but it is too late for conjecture. I am halfway across the country anyways. Every night we ate together. My family, they never did. So in a way you became my family, in such a way they never did. But you weren't really family. That takes a deeper connection. So like the rest of this, it was our way of treating loneliness in such a way a bandage can stop internal bleeding, or an umbrella can protect against a massive storm flood. It was not about building a foundation for future growth, but rather we were doing our best to fill in all these empty holes. We played house quite well, but we both knew eventually we'd have to stop playing pretend. Go back to our respective homes, sit with ourselves in the cacophony of quiet. For the time, though, you were the only thing that kind of felt like home. Maybe that feeling motivated me. Maybe too much so. And in my own feeling of alienation, I think a part of me hoped I could make a home out of you. To compensate for the feeling of being so out of place, for knowing that this wasn't my own space, and one day, very soon, I would move away. I don't think I said I love you because I actually loved you. I think I did it to prove to myself that someone, anyone, you, could love me back. Beyond that, I didn't want to lose one more thing, one more person in my life, one more minute of my time. I wanted to hold you as you slipped through my fingers as sand through the hourglass. I wanted to hold on to you despite the feelings I still hold that I am a loser, that I would lose you, and so I lost you, but we were doomed from the start. I'd asked you to run with me on twisted ankles and worn out knees. I too, fully unconditioned to movement, to this feeling, to caring about someone else in that way. How could I ever believe we could run away together in this condition? How could I ever believe that you would even try? Even as you said I love you back with tear-filled eyes, I'm unsure if you meant it or felt you had to say it, but I do know, no matter how imperfect this all ended up, you did care. You just couldn't be that person I wanted you to be, and maybe the same was true for you about me. And when faced with the facts, neither of us could hold up the facade. That this was intention was real. No atheist God could create this as love, but I think I wanted so badly to be loved. I prayed to false idols, and you were no savior. You were too broken to even really be with me, but I knew this getting into it. I still held out my arms to hold both our baggage, only to realize it was just as heavy, actually more so, only to find stress fractures from a body that was not ready to handle your weight. I'm prideful, but I can admit that it is too late to resolve this. You were my test subject, my all-or-nothing guinea pig. I gambled big, took a risk, and unsurprisingly, the game was rigged against me. And I can't tell if I did this intentionally. Did I choose you to prove to myself I was as broken as I always thought I was? Or did I break when I realized for once I'd chosen someone, anyone, you, and you couldn't or wouldn't choose me back?
There we go. Thank you, Allegra. One of our newest writers to explore the arts of poetry before our very astonished eyes. And who is next? Oh, Tommy Abacomica in the house. Tommy. We call him Tommy.
Yeah, that's what I call myself.
Is it? You wake up in the morning and say, "Hey, Tommy, what's going on with you?" Sorry.
When the first humans finally died off, no animal, no plant, no creature of the air or sea mourned their demise. Everywhere the animals roamed and the birds flew, the rotting skyscrapers with the broken glass and fallen beams, the sinking streets and crumbling houses overgrown with plants and moss, the rusting cars and trains and planes reassured the animals that the humans were truly gone, especially from the domed places where the men and women in suits denied the problem until the very end, even though large areas of the planet had become uninhabitable. Dead zones lay in every ocean. Landfills stretched for thousands of miles, and countless unseen toxins were in the water, air, soil. When the humans realized it was too late, they blamed each other, the cows, the devil. They swore their God would save them. They tried to build spaceships, teleportation devices, underground sanctuaries, but they perished anyway. It was risky for the animals to eat the green leaves, the vegetables and fruit that sprang from the ground, and to drink or bathe in their favorite river or pond. They suffered many ailments and diseases they had never known, lived shortened lives, cursed the humans every moment of every day, dreamed of an earth they heard about when they were young, in tales passed down generation after generation, hoped that the humans would never return. Fortunately, they never did. And now, in honor of the theme that I chose, this is called Outrageous Acts. We weren't what students usually encountered as they entered the large lobby of the campus bookstore. We had set up a Kiss a Queer booth that Valentine's Day 1973, offering genuine, real-life, same-sex kisses. There were few takers, no surprise there. I saw a lot of students with shocked expressions, some who turned their heads quickly, and others who seemed curious, but too scared to venture over. Then some straight students the men looking like they were from the football team, the women from the cheerleading squad, set up a Kiss Us Straight booth across from us. They called the media. The TV cameras and reporters with their ballpoint pens and their blue-lined paper notepads buzzed around us like desperate bees in a patch of flowers. Much to the disappointment of the jocks and the cheerleaders, they got little attention. Some guy sitting nearby decided they wanted their 15 minutes of fame and began barraging us with coins and small spit-glazed paper balls and the usual anti-queer epithets. Nothing very original. I was sure I'd get jumped on the way to the subway. The next day, the front page story in the student newspaper was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. As chairperson of the queer group, I was summoned into the office of the director of student activities and threatened with immediate expulsion. The university was state-funded, and some legislators had seen the coverage. They were furious enough to push for cuts in the school's budget. I told him we didn't call the press. He said we had no right to pull a stunt like that and embarrass the university. I showed him a copy of the paperwork we filled out, which was approved by his office. The straight students had never filled out paperwork, had never been approved to set up a table. Was he going to expel them? He told me it was none of my business. He warned me not to do anything like that again. A few months later, we ran a drag queen for homecoming queen and made headlines across the state again. I never did like being told what to do.
Melissa!
And now let us have a warm round for Melissa, who is very tall and kind and patient with everything under the sun. Keeping us here.
I did a really big thing today. I sent in an application for a writing residency.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Will that take you away from us?
It will take me to the middle of Oregon in the wilderness for 6 months. But not until next year.
Oh, well, okay. Well,
So.
thank you for the forewarning.
He'll permit it.
Thank you. So I found this. I didn't know that I had this, but I was first published when I was 10. It's not that special. It's just but it's cute and fun. So I'm trying to. I have no idea what page it's on, but it's "Touch the Earth" Earth Day poems, April 23rd, 1995. Sorry, I should have. I thought it was going to be easier to find. Every time I've opened it up, I've been like, oh, there I am. There it is. And I grew up in Connecticut, and I remember I went to they were having like some little reading of all the poetry, and I went. I don't remember if I read. I don't remember. But I do remember getting these cool rocks. That's what I remember about that day. Oh, here I am. Okay, it's called Protect Our Planet. Our rivers and lakes are sometimes clean, but machines and pollution often make them green. The sky up above can be a beautiful blue, but factories and cars fill it with goo. The trees and the woods help us to breathe, but the people who cut them down have nothing to leave. Birds need trees to make a nice home. All careless people, please leave them alone. The manatees should be saved from being extinct. To all people who hurt them, please stop and think. Let's keep our world a beautiful place so I can see the joy on my children's faces.
Rob, you're up.
Rob, you're up.
Rob, you're up. That's a nice name, Rob. You're up. I love that. Come around, please. Who's next? Oh, and then Sharon, you're next for our main feature of the evening, and then we progress onwards and upwards as so I might
It's a little
think.
differently here.
Oh, you're tall. Wait a minute.
All right. I will try to outrage you. This is called Smurfragette Ditty. I awoke in a magic forest, amidst rays of filtered sun. In my hands I cradled a magic machine gun. I strolled along a fairy path till I spied a mushroom town. Teeny blue people frolicked all around. I cocked my magic gun and shot every little one, except for a female with hair that shimmered like the sun. I tipped my hat and told her to go about her day, and that her life was now headed in a much better way.
That would be Smurfette. Smurfette.
Yeah, let's see. This is called The Bushwhacked. An hour a day, sitting at a mirror. Is that your definition of free? You can't do squat wearing high heels. Isn't babe short for baby? Bald pits, bald cunt. To call a woman girl sounds like pedophilia to me. Let's see. This is called serving. Brown serving white. To make wrong right. The whispers led to fresh served head. It might be. That might be a haiku.
Yeah.
If so, it's my first.
Well, you know. It's a debut here.
This is called Carnal Truisticking Sex Bomb. I'll say that again because I fumbled a little bit. Carnal Truisticking Sex Bomb. To comfort, not conquer. When shall little boys learn thus? When compassion passes passion, then shall little girls learn trust. Can you love with your cock those who are ugly or unkind? Can you love with your cunt those who are morally blind? Can you love with your body those you can't love with your mind? And I will finish with a piece called Dig. What's that stench that windward wafts? That unseemly rot we'd rather not see? That's called corruption. That's called graft and bloated bureaucracy. But shovel deeper if you dare. Something more pungent awaits you there. The pollution of democracy's illusion, perpetuated to keep us indoctrinated, accepting landlords and minimum wages and poverty with no revolutionary rages. but keep unearthing to the origination of history's greatest malodoration. You've struck it, the notion that things like an ocean can be owned or bound instead of spread around. A meadow, a herd, a woman, a tree cannot belong to you or me. We all exist for one another. Animal, vegetable, sister, brother. Every plenitude of earth, water, or air, we all must protect. We all must share.
Thank you. And now we have in the second half of the second show, this is the second show after the break, but the feature does that. Are you okay?
Yep.
Hey, nice trip.
Little dance.
See you in the fall. So we're going to have our feature, our mini feature of the evening. Sharon Scott Kish come forward after David's performance here, and you're all right?
Yeah, I just stumbled over your.
Oh, that's Mr. Natural's taste. That's the problem. All right. Yeah, why don't you put it between the chair? That's what I forgot to do that.
Anymore.
That's right. So anyway, so give her a nice warm welcome, please. Storyteller, historian of note, novelist of the Bowlby Bowl raconteur.
This is called Too Black. I am defiant if I separate. I am fake if I assimilate. They consider my uniqueness strange. They call my language slang. They see my confidence as conceit. They see my mistakes as defeat. My question mean I am unaware. My advancement is somehow unfair. My voice concern is discontentment. If I stand up for myself, I am too defensive. If I don't trust them, I'm too apprehensive. They consider my success accidental. They minimize my intelligence to potential. They take my kindness for weakness. They take my allegiance and silence for speechless. My character is constantly underrated, and my race makes me too black.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, this is for you.
Thank you, dear.
You're welcome. It's called Hoppy. Many days my grandmother would go to visit her next-door neighbor, Ma Bates, to take a little tidbit she'd made the night before. Usually it was a delicious leftover. Her favorite was the brandied peaches she had canned and some homemade pound cake. They would sit around and chat, and usually some handicraft was being done, knitting, quilting, tatting, or even embroidery. Sometimes I would go, but often I would stay home. In the 40s, it was common for all the celebrities to make personal appearances. This was a big deal. To meet the person, get a free advertising gift. So, Eva went next door with the peaches and the pound cake and calling ahead to make sure there was ice cream. I saw this as my opportunity to call Janice, my partner in crime. Always Janice. Janice asked her mother, "Can I go to Sharon's for 2 hours? We want to make paper doll clothes." "Okay, if it's okay with Miss Walker." "Yes." "Okay, great." Our plan now is in working. Janice and I play, and we go over to Ben's Market across the street. This is our real purpose. After many trips back and forth, Janice has called it a day. She will be back home right on time. Eva returns home, and home to what? "Sharon K?" "Yes, ma'am." "What is this?" "Oh, Hoppy gave me that." "What?" 1, 2, 3, 4, she starts counting. "Who gave you these?" "Hoppy. He was at Ben's, and each time we shook his hand and told him our name, he gave us one of these, little loaves of bread. Mind you, these loaves of bread were no more than 5 inches, long and sliced, wholesome bread. You shook his hand 50 times? Well, toward the end, he gave Janice and me 10 apiece, free. Well, let me tell you something, Missy. You are going to eat those 40 loaves and the free bread that you have, and too bad there aren't 40 loaves, there aren't 40 fishes. Jesus Christ. My grandfather comes in smiling and starts to tickle me. Oh, darling, let the baby have some fun. Okay, but she has to learn to leave something for other folks. She has a Hopalong Cassidy radio, Hopalong Cassidy guns, a Hopalong Cassidy costume, Hopalong Cassidy boots, Hopalong Cassidy spurs, and Hopalong Cassidy spoons, Hopalong Cassidy cups, and Hopalong Cassidy glass. Each morning, my grandfather and I sit down to breakfast. He toasts our bread in the oven, and we have it with homemade damson jam. Toward the end, Eva decides to make the bread pudding with the leftover loaves, and we have Janice over for lunch. Great. Chicken salad, sandwiches, pickles, Guy's potato chips, Vest Cola, strawberry, soda pop, and for dessert, bread pudding. Yum.
So, Bill Mercer, you went home. Alan Harris, you're up.
Alan Harris. Call for Alan Harris. Alan Harris. Here he comes, Alan Harris. If you haven't heard Alan Harris, you're about to. And if you have heard him, you're about to hear him again. A calm, collected individual whose notoriety is well noted and noteworthy.
Hello.
Noteworthy notoriety.
Thank you.
Anytime, anytime.
Number 15.
There's this insect that's been following me around. Everywhere I go, there it is. And I know that it's always the same insect. I can tell by the way that it's looking at me, like it wants something from me. But for the life of me, I can't figure out what that is. What could I possibly have that an insect might want?
Pause.
Line. What could I possibly have that an insect might want? Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Or maybe there's a fucking insect following me around. Thank you.
They do that.
Are there any Uber drivers here? Not good.
Taxis and orders.
Hi, I'm your Uber driver. I'm here to take you wherever you need to go. Although I should warn you, I have no idea what I'm doing or where I'm going. I've never been in your city before. I just drove up here from my own economically depressed city to take advantage of the fact that Uber is barely regulated by either local or state governments and is pretty much allowed to run wild throughout your city, eating away at its quality of life by clogging up the streets with thousands of extra cars every day, many of which are driven by people like myself in a fashion that can only be described as reckless. You see, Uber is so determined to undercut other forms of transportation, like taxis and airport shuttle buses, that I hardly make enough on each ride to cover the gas I use and the wear and tear on my car. So I need to do as many rides as I can in order to make any real money. And I'm afraid that safe driving just cuts into my profit margin. So, sorry. I wouldn't worry, though. Chances are that I'll get you to your destination at some point, and most likely without getting into an accident. Although I can't promise that. I mean, anything's possible in this unregulated, unstructured free-for-all known as the gig economy. But hey, taking an Uber is way cheaper than taking a cab, right? Well, sometimes. You see, along with all the other aspects of Uber's business model that are unregulated, the fares tend to go up and down. It's called surge pricing, and it's based on what is at the very core of our economic system, supply and demand. When there are more requests for rides than there are cars in a particular area, the fare just keeps going up and up and up. What could be more American? Although there's no regulation concerning car maintenance, so you don't know the last time the brakes on my car were checked. Spoiler alert, it's been a while. Or if the lights work when it gets dark, or if the windshield wipers work in case it starts to rain. Also, there's been no real background check done on me. Only a cursory internet search. No DMV report, no fingerprinting, no running my social security number through the federal database to make sure that I'm not a convicted mass murdering sexual assaulter who's just escaped from prison. Spoiler alert, I am. And that's because Uber just doesn't care. Uber only cares about its bottom line. It doesn't care about its passengers, and it certainly doesn't care about its drivers. What keeps Uber going is the hearts and minds of needy, ignorant people like myself, who were seduced by the siren call of being one's own boss. And you remember what happened to those ships that were lured by the sirens of Titan, don't you? Uber is like the rocks under which those ships ran aground. So, is this the future of the working class in this country? Chasing after a deceptively easy way of making money while being lured into a predatory car lease agreement so that you can be chattel for some billionaire sociopath? Spoiler alert, yes. Thank you. I wrote this as a reaction to something that I heard a Republican senator say after the Las Vegas shooting. Remember the Las Vegas shooting? That was, that was like 10 mass shootings ago.
18 mass shootings ago.
And yet here it is. Get small. Make yourself as small a target as you possibly can. Advice from a 6'4" tall United States senator to those who are worried about how to live in a society with a dearth of gun safety laws. If you're planning on going out for the evening, maybe to a movie or a club or a concert, you're going to need to take precautions. Wear dark clothing, accessorize properly with a Kevlar vest, perhaps a trip to the venue beforehand for a bit of reconnaissance to familiarize yourself with escape routes. And of course, you would be wise to arm yourself. Nothing too extreme. After all, you're going out for an evening of pleasure. You don't want a bulky AR-15 ruining the lining of your suit. The point is that, as we all know, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is with a good guy with a gun. And you're a good guy, right? As this 6'4" tall United States senator has pointed out, along with so many others in his particular political party, this is the price of freedom. The Second Amendment must not be infringed upon, lest the risk be run of having the complex but fragile structure of our government come crashing down all around us. Close one gun show loophole, keep one high-capacity magazine out of the hands of one duck hunter, run one background check on one demented person who wants to buy a bazooka, and 241 years of democracy will evaporate in an instant. Don't worry about how in those other countries, the ones with the strict gun safety laws, there isn't a steady stream of mass murders. Those countries aren't real democracies. When their citizens go out to a movie or a concert, there's an almost 100% chance that they will still be alive by the time it's over. What kind of a way is that to live? In a real democracy, every citizen, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, religious belief, or degree of mental stability, has the right to amass as many guns as he or she wants to. You got a problem with that? Then you're not a real American. A real American accepts the fact that a night out with a family might end in a hail of gunfire, and that you might end up going home with one less child than you had when the evening started. It's a small price to pay to protect the sanctity of God's favorite amendment to the Constitution. So you have to ask yourself, are you a real American, or are you one of those freedom haters who wants to keep guns out of the hands of potential mass murderers? If you're the former, then take the advice of that 6'4" tall United States senator and get small. After all, he's 6 feet 4 inches tall, and he's about as small as a person can get.
Oh, Helen Harris. And now, Robin, the luxurious, debonair, bon vivant Hal Robbins, and then we have Garrett Murphy, then John Burton, Julie Schreiber. I got it. I can say. There we go.
It's difficult to decide what poem of outrage to perform. I do know some which would outrage the people here, but that's I've often wondered how I might say those. It's a difficult problem. But the last time I said this one, there was an incident of outrage, which is why I'm saying it again. That was the night Ambrose erupted.
Oh, yes.
While I was trying to say this poem. Well, he's not here now. So I'm going to say it again.
There we go.
September 1st, 1939, by W.H. Auden.
Oh, great.
I sit in one of the dives on 52nd Street, uncertain and afraid, as the clever hopes expire of a low, dishonest decade. Waves of anger and fear circulate over the bright and darkened lands of the earth, obsessing our private lives. The unspeakable odor of death offends the September night. Accurate scholarship can unearth the first offense from Luther until now that has driven a culture mad. Find what occurred at Linz, what huge imago made a psychopathic god. I and the public know what all school children learn. Those to whom evil is done do evil in return. Exiled Thucydides knew all that a speech can say about democracy and what dictators do. The elderly rubbish they talk to an apathetic grave analyzed all in his book. The Enlightenment driven away, the habit forming pain, mismanagement, and grief. We must suffer them all again. Into this neutral air where blind skyscrapers use their full height to proclaim the strength of collective man, each language pours its vain competitive excuse. But who can live for long in an euphoric dream? Out of the mirror they stare, imperialism's face and the international wrong. Faces behind the bar cling to their average day. The lights must never go out. The music must always play. All the conditions conspire to make this fort assume the furniture of home, lest we should see where we are, lost in a haunted wood, children afraid of the night, who have never been happy or good. The windiest militant trash important persons shout is not so crude as our wish. What mad Nijinsky wrote about Diaghilev is true of the normal heart, for the error bred in the bone of each woman and each man craves what it cannot have, not universal love, but to be loved alone. From the conservative dark and into the ethical life, the dense commuters come repeating their morning vow. I will be true to the wife. I'll concentrate more on my work. And helpless governors wait to resume their compulsory game. Who can release them now? Who can reach the deaf? Who can speak for the dumb? All I have is a voice to undo the folded lie, the romantic lie in the brain of the sensual man in the street, and the lie of authority whose buildings grope the sky. There is no such thing as the state, and no one exists alone. Hunger allows no choice to the citizen or the police. We must love one another and die. Helpless under the night our world in stupor lies, yet dotted here and there ironic points of light flash out wherever the just exchange their messages. May I, composed like them of eros and of dust, beleaguered by the same negation and despair, show an affirming flame.
Yeah. There you go. Garrett Murphy.
Garrett Murphy and John and Julie. Garrett Murphy, one of our favorite poets from decades hence and yet to come. racists placed Black History Month in February. You've probably heard of this modern day myth. They went and put Black History Month in February, the shortest month of the year. Yes, you heard it right. A myth, that's all it is. There's a lot of things can be placed on the race system with all kinds of credibility to boot, but this isn't one of them. For you see, the person responsible for the month of Black History Celebrate was a black man, Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Woodson was a historian who, seeking a means to ensure that the history of black folk would not be lost, established a week of celebration called Negro History Week. But why, you ask, or more likely, well, if this Woodson guy was so concerned about black pride and sense of history, did he pick little February, the shortest month of the year? February was a month in which Dr. Woodson's foremost heroes, Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, whose importance to black history were both without question were born. And of course, Negro History Week became Black History Week, became Black History Month. And given the immense impact of Dr. Woodson's creation, what on earth would make anyone believe that some silly racist could invent and plan a Black History Month? A racist couldn't put Black History Month in February. A racist didn't put Black History Month in February, or do much of anything bordering on the worthwhile. So don't give any racist so much of a credit. Black history is just too big in importance and magnitude for some races to carry so much as a fraction, much less place. And besides, haven't you heard of the adage about big things coming in small packages? years. 50 years will it be since that Thursday evening when the newscast came in that the king was dead. Shot down in Memphis 10, the shock was gigantic, and the shock waves had yet to fully subside. The gravity was felt even to one too young to fully grasp, but not to ignore the name. As the pirate and the verse approach then come go, the adversities are much the same, yet newly and bold. Yet they in a way are already overcome by their own narrow sight, for the king's dream remains. People are scared of independence. What makes one break out in an ocean of sweat? What makes Frank, Drac, and Jaws look like eating pickings? And what can someone heading for parts unknown? You guessed it. Folks are scared of independence. Yes, people are scared of independence. We come out of the womb as helpless as babies that alone can make one wail and whine. Of course, we're taught indoctrinated to dependence, at times codependence of the law of the land. But all too often in all things, the codependent stays the law of the land and it generates into the law of life. Folks come to the point of independence, and so many of them long for a womb. Folks are scared of independence. Yes, people are scared of independence. People law the military line up to, up to, up to, up to. They know where their place is at. People do the nihilist, fatalist. Alas, it's so unjust. Alas, can't do nothing about it. So alas, just stay where you are, and alas, accept it. And some, after serving time for wrong, find freedom frightening and long for the cage, and not a few go along for the bad old days when ops were denied and prejudged was cool, for you knew where you were at and you knew your place. Folks are scared of independence, yes, people are scared of independence. But even if one has eluded all of the above, there's plenty to find for evidence of dependence in home and work and play and performance. Folks are too eager to take what's given to them without so much as an inquiry into it as good. Folks listen to much of media, listen to much to authority, listen to much of leaders, but don't do nearly enough thinking for themselves. And that to say nothing of critical thinking. Folks are scared of independence, yes, people are scared of independence. When times are tight, what's the first to go? The arts, the recreation, the electives, the schools, especially the individual looking ones. The ones most likely to encourage the thoughts and actions for oneself, and to interrogate the desire by too many of those that, as they sit in a look-alike home, preferring to build more prisons and military academies to indoctrinate. And this from a land that claimed to stand for freedom and all. Folks are scared of independence, yes, people are scared of independence, yes, people are scared of independence, and that is why things are as they are. All right. Thank you, nuts. We thank you for tormenting us, for calling us names, for harassing and profiling us, for assaulting us with your slaps, your fists, your weaponry, your spittle, and for shouting obscenities and slurs in our faces. We thank you for your collective punishment, for your destroying our property, our loved ones, our very own lives, and please accept our thanks to you for your attempts to destroy our self-esteem and pride. You've done us a tremendous service we shall not soon forget,
And should you truly believe any of the above, then you, little sirs and madams, are truly no more than just another perpetrator. Thank you.
John, you're up.
Are you new here? Is this your first time? Okay, John, give him a nice round of applause.
We're in a dark time of my life. God will abjure me when I meet him, glare at me, indict me by silence. No, it won't be disappointment, but disgust, I fear. Then he'll sit me down and let roll the video recordings of my life. And as my life rolls by, reviewed there, undeniable, unimpeachable, we will be able to count how many angels he had sent to redirect me, which will apparently be exactly how many angels I had shunned in oblivion and fog. His eyes will roll back, his cheeks will hollow. The sounds of his exhalations will underscore his disappointment. His posture will advance the fable. The nervous shufflings of his assistants will confirm it. But perhaps he won't even bother to ask then, nor condescend to mention, until late in the presentation, when the mood has descended, the melancholy gelled. This. Just exactly how many chances did I need? How did I manage to fuck it up time after time? How come everybody else seemed to get it but me? What do you say when God himself tells you you're an idiot? This is called Rest in Peace Words. I have exhausted language, used it up and crumpled it. See it panting, prostrate on my floor? I have wrung it, coached it, scolded it, even intimidated it with threats of violence, to make it feed my rage, to service my self-pity, ultimately to see it in the end, certify my shallowness, all the while feeling certain I was deep. Yes, it's true. I harped and hollered, unfurled harangues and histrionics, made tautologies of stances and stances of tautologies, made mantras out of grievances and grievances of mantras. Like the snake that swallowed itself, I wrung shallowness from eloquence and tortured world-weary phrases, hoping to make their feeble voices sing again, trotted out trite metaphors to justify my sins. See the grooves in my floorboards there, where lie my slain and faithful words? Yes, I killed them in fits of pique, in eruptions of self-righteousness, shoveled them into shallow troughs, and spat upon their ungrateful abandon. And yet, it is from beyond the grave they scold me the loudest. Ha! Poor words. I wasted your lives too, your potential sapped in bondage to this vainglorious tyrant. Forgive me, my old friends. Rest in peace, and may you find rebirth. Thank you. A very short poem for you fine students of poetry. I am is trochee, and trochee is trochee, and dactyl 2/3 of itself. Spondy is a goofball, and spondy is trochee, and anapest an example of itself.
Julie.
And now, Julie, you are new, right?
Yeah.
Okay, give her the treatment, ladies and gentlemen. Newbie here. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go,
Who let the sheep out?
Not only am I new, but I just learned what the theme was, so I just wrote these like right now.
Oh, okay.
And my first time reciting, so.
Oh, wow.
Here we go.
Yes.
Falling in open skies, wind of a hurricane in my face, sound filling me, and breath has stopped in the sting of blood and cold. Falling in open skies, under the lashing belt of a tortured Holocaust survivor. And my other one is this. Not that I care, but I don't dare to use you. Oceans, creatures, food, water, full of you. Not that I care, but I don't dare. Plastics,
All right. So,
Prizes.
prizes. The door prizes. You'll remember these. I'm going to go through them very quickly. You can pause that.
Just dropped my glasses.
Okay. So again, the best of simple by Lang.